Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Gundam TCG deck building slash deck list video. This one's going to be looking at the Academy, what I'm calling Rouge Academy, and you'll see what I mean by that in just a second. But it is definitely Academy with a couple of little tweaks that help it be a little bit, I guess, better in my opinion. Hopefully. But we'll start with our pilots here. So we are going to be running 4 Soletas, which is a core to basically any Academy build that you're going to have. Soleta's a 4-1 pilot, which adds +1 and +2. If you're not aware, it also restores a resource whenever it is that you attack. And of course, having the Academy trait as a pilot means that it's going to be able to trigger some of these units which are able to link with Academy. We'll talk about those when we get to them. I'm also running 4 of the command called Iron Fisted Discipline. This is a level 2 cost 1 command that reduces my opponent's unit that is level 4, lowers attack power by 2. It's a very nice card that I can play for my hand, both defensively and offensively as a main or as an action. Second, however, it is also a Chitauri Panlunch pilot that you can play, adding +1 attack. But very critically, it also has the Academy trait on it, which means it can go ahead and trigger Academy Link with it. So we have 8 units here, or pilots rather, that can link with some of our Academy units. But we're also going to be running the Rouge part, which is the Kigali Yula Anta, which is another pilot, a level 4 cost 1. It has burst, of course, like all the other pilots that are not commands. It is a +1/+1, but what it does is if your unit is white, it gets to have blocker as part of it. So this card can make any white card blocker. You may have seen it as being used as something like making the Justice Gundam a blocker, like all of those big white cards that you definitely don't want to chew through their HP. This making it a blocker is even worse. So we have here our 4 Academy pilots as well as our Kigali, which is going to be a very heavy support into this deck right here. So those are our pilots. So let's talk about our units. We are going to be running 4 of the Gundam Ferract. This is a very key unit for the Academy side. It is a level 4 cost 3, 3 attack power, 4 HP, and it'll link with any Academy trait. So all of these up here are able to link with it and attack with it right away. During a link, which again, all of those are able to link, and you attack, you can reduce your opponent's attack power by 2, which is really nice. And you're able to combo that with something like the Chitauri Panlunch to make it even less attack power. So it's really powerful, really nice to have. With Soleta, this becomes a 4/6, which is very heavy, a lot of HP to chew through for your opponent to get rid of it. So I really like seeing the Ferract out there, because reducing your opponent's attack power is going to keep it alive for way longer than perhaps it should, meaning your opponent's going to get really frustrated with it. As its partner in crime, we're talking about the Rouge part. We have the Strike Rouge, which is a level 3 cost 2, slightly cheaper, lower level, but just as important, it is a 3/2, which can only link with Orb. As of right now, Kigali is the only one that has Orb as a trait, so it will link with Kigali. Kigali will also make the Rouge a blocker. This is a white card, making it a 4/3 blocker. But more importantly, it also has an activation main that once per turn, you can pay 1 resource, and a white unit with blocker is able to just stand back up. It won't be able to attack after, but it can stand up for relatively cheap. 1 resource is not much. Since it itself is able to gain blocker through Kigali, it can attack, it can link, attack, and stand itself back up again and be a blocker for the next turn. Really powerful, really nice card, right? So the Rouge and the Gundam Ferract, very nice partners in crime, because if you do flip them, if you do end up with pilots on the other side, like this, which can happen, and often does happen, and you're just required, you can make the Fract be a blocker. And that's not a bad blocker to have as a 4/5, very much heavy to chew through. And then the Rouge, since all it needs is an activated action, you don't need to link or do any, or even pair, to be honest, with it. You're able to use that ability to get this Fract to stand back up and be a blocker for the next turn. So they are pretty cool combinations, partners that can work with the Strike Rouge and the Ferract here. But of course, anything that can be a blocker or even Academy is going to be working really well in this combination. Next, we have the obligatory Overflowing Affection. This is white, so this card is just super useful to draw 2 and throw away 1 card that you don't want. again, the draw power is very nice to have in this game. This game draw power is very low, so anything that helps you towards that is really nice. Spoiler alert, we are going to be leaning a little bit into the command card, so we are going to be running 4 of the Michaelis, which if you have 4 more commands in your trash, you get attack and HP +1. It also has a link with Academy, so again, all 8 Academy pilots are able to link with it and attack right away. With Soletta, and if you can get 4 commands in the trash, this unit can be a 5/6 unit. Or if you do get Kigali, it could be a 5/5 blocker, which is really powerful thing to work with. So the Michaelis working in this is actually super gas, really powerful. I'm also running 2 Daribali to get rid of tokens and things like that. 1 HP bounce. Level 3 costs 2 with 4 attack power and also an Academy trait link. This card can attack right away and attack very powerfully into many units while bouncing anything that has 1 HP, clearing the way for you to attack or bounce a token that you may not want out there. As a base, I'm running the 13th Tactical Sector. If you're not familiar with this, this is a level 3 cost 1 base that you can activate as your main. That if you have an Academy unit, you can choose an opponent's unit and reduce its attack power by 1. So this is very much going to be something that I want to trigger on my turn to attack into units. So once my opponent has attacked and done their things and left their units rested, the Tactical Sector lets me reduce their attack power and go into them and destroy them without taking as much damage as I normally would. That's really a nice ability to have here in white. I thought about running that white base that stands blockers back up, but I think I'd rather just pay less with the Strike Rouge than with the 2 resources of the base and just have a better offensive capacity with this. And it does stack with the Gundam Ferract, so it is possible to reduce my opponent by 3 attack power. And with so much HP on the board, it will be a tough time for your opponent to get rid of them. So here come some more commands running, likely going into the Michaelis' ability, which is we are running 3 Strike Rouge. Again, running commands is definitely not a good thing to have a lot of in your hand because you'd rather have units sometimes. But the cool thing about the Striker pack is that it does put a unit, a very powerful token on the board, while also putting a command into your trash so that the Michaelis can benefit from that. So putting down a unit while running up the command number is really nice to have. This is not an Academy unit or anything like that, but a very powerful token nonetheless. And I will say that this token drops from either burst or as your main ability. You get to choose from either a 4/2 or 2/4 blocker. If it's from burst, it'll be a 3/3. Remember that is very important, right? To be able to choose, right? Next, I also run 3 Unforeseen Incident. It would be 4, but I feel like 3 is just better. I'd rather not have too many commands in my hand. I felt like if I was running 4, I would too often have commands and not units in my hand. So I've just reduced this by 3 and added a few more units for that. But I like this card. I think it's really nice to use offensively and defensively to keep my units alive or not take as much damage if I'm using it offensively. This also stacks with our base. It stacks with the Ferract. If my opponent's attacking into a blocker, I can keep my blocker alive potentially with this card. I just really like being able to play this card for my hand at any time as long as I have the resource to play it. Yeah. Next, we are running 3 Aerial Rebuild. Probably the hardest one to get, the most expensive card in this build. I thought about running 4, but I think I'd rather control the mid game. And since I am kind of filtering with the Overflowing Affection, the rebuild is really nice. It does only link with Soletta, however, so you might want to hold on to a Soletta in order to run this with the aerial as a offense. But if you don't have Soletta for the immediate attack, you can still make the aerial rebuild into a blocker with Kigali. So one cool combo that I get to pull off is sometimes I have the rebuild and Kigali. We play the rebuild, we'll attach Kigali, make this a 6/5 blocker, very powerful attack. It does not have link, but anything that it blocks will probably get destroyed. But then also when you pair, I can pick up a command level 5 or lower. All my commands are level 5 or lower. But I like to pick up something like the Unforeseen Incident if I already used it and have it available in my hand. Or if I want a pilot for something else, I can also bring back an Iron Fisted and use it as a Chitauri link, that type of thing, right? So this combo is really nice to have to bring back the command into my hand, and that command could be a pilot or it can be something that I can use offensively or defensively to reduce my opponent's attack power. Of course, this would be a blocker in that situation, which is really cool combo to have as a play. Continuing on with the bottom of our list, we are looking at running 2 Elfriths. This is a level 3 cost 2, 2/4 HP. Just more HP for your opponent to chew through. Not very powerful on the attack. It is already a blocker, so Gagali won't make it a blocker. We're just buffing it. This is just a very defensive play, but it is level 3, which means I can't put it that early. There's not a lot of cards that play early. So I do run 1 Zwart as well, a level 2 cost 2. Remember, he cannot attack my opponent's base or shields, but it can attack into units. And the buff with something like Soletta makes this a 4/4, for example, which can be a little bit harder for my opponent to deal with. It can start destroying their units, and attacking becomes really nice with it, right? So Zwart also runs in this deck, and standing it back up with the Strike Rouge is really nice to have. So this is basically all the white cards. You'll notice that a lot of them are somewhat kind of high level expensive. And I thought about, well, how can I support this and have it threaten my opponent early? There's not a lot of early plays. If you look at the levels and plays that you could do, I can use an Iron Fisted as a command, but that's very defensive in this situation. I can run Overflowing Affection to try to filter. That's one option at a low level. Not much else, however. Everything's level 3, 2s. We run 1 Zwart, which is level 2. But one thing that I want to have is 2 things. I want to have something that I can play at a low level. And second, I want something that's a little bit threatening to my opponent, so they're kind of forced to attack, kind of goad them into attacking, so that I can go ahead and use my actions from my hand that let me counter them pretty well, right? So I looked for that in a different color. I thought about a unit that could drop for very little cost while still threatening my opponent, making them want to destroy it or get rid of it as fast as possible. And the card that I looked at is a classic starter deck card, which is the Zaku 2. I am running 4 Zaku 2s in this build. I'll cost 1, level 2, 1/2. However, when attacking, it gains 2 attack power. Very powerful card that can pop your opponent's EX base. 3 attack power is nothing to sniff at. It is definitely a powerful attack from a low level. Every time I saw this card from my opponents, I always wanted to get rid of it right away. And so if it attacks and it only has the 1 attack power, that's going to be a situation in which my opponent is going to want to get rid of it by attacking. And that's when I can trigger my actions that can counter and maybe even destroy my opponent and keep my Zaku 2 alive, and then have it available for next turn to hit again for 3 attack power and do even more damage. I felt like this card works really well as a complement to everything else that's going on in this deck, and so I'm running 4 of it. That's one of my early play cards, and because it almost forces my opponent to think about attacking early in the game. And so that's my Rouge Academy build. I think it's really cool. It's been really fun to run it. There's a little bit of gameplay for it in a different video if you want to see some of it. Otherwise, thank you so much. Make sure that you are liking, commenting, and subscribing, and let me know what changes you might make, or if you like anything, or if you don't like something about it. And I'd like to listen to you and make changes to that type of thing. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.